Today's episode on The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi is brought to you by our amazing sponsors. Thank you for supporting our show and the impact that we create together. Now, before we dive in, I'd like you to tap, subscribe, and follow so you never miss an episode. It helps us reach more business owners who need this. Now, for our special guest today, we have a very, very, very special guest, and his name is Rich Hofmann. And you can learn a lot at his website, and he's going to tell you in a moment what that website is. And Rich helps our business owners make smarter financial tax decisions, especially when the clock is ticking toward the end of the year. Rich, welcome to the show. And just so we begin, I want everyone to make sure they know what your website is. Tell everybody where they can find you first.
Sure. Our website is Neil Jasani, Neiljesani, neiljesani.com.
Wonderful. And for listeners who are listening to you for the first time, can you tell everybody a little about your backstory, who you serve, what you do, and the moment you realize end of year planning can change a business owner's life for the entire year?
Sure. Who we are a group of tax attorneys, CPAs, not your typical CPA firm. All of our advisors have 10, 15 plus years of experience servicing various types of businesses. We've got different backgrounds. My background is in uh, public tax, so large C corporations. What we do is we service high net worth individuals. So people typically with $2 million plus of taxable income and $10 million plus of net worth. And what we
Mhm.
do is we tailor very bespoke, very custom tax plans for each person that comes in the door. So, what client A might need, client B may want none of it. So,
Right.
really each person has something tailored to them. Now, why tax and planning is important is if you wait till you're ready to file your tax return, all your CPA is doing is they're putting the right number on the right line, on the right form, and filing it in the right place at the right time. Moving numbers between lines is not going to help you. The tax planning needs to occur typically before the end of the year. So
Yes.
that's what we focus on. Right now, we are in the heart of our tax planning season, starting here end of end of September, beginning of October. We're trying to get everything done for our clients before the end of the year.
And I think you brought up a really good point is that every individual needs to be taken care of in a customized fashion because a lot of times, not every place will do that, and it's very important because everybody has a different type of business, different things going on, different concerns. Some people are looking towards certain things where they value more and they want more attention drawn to it. And so every person has to be taken care of in a customized fashion. And I think that's one of the important things that you had mentioned that I think people need to, when they're looking for a good CPA and they're looking for a good firm, they have to make sure that it's being customized like yours.
And you bring up a good point. Looking for a firm, it's TurboTax is great for preparing a tax return. Having a tax advisor is critical. It's like going to a doctor, right? You go to a doctor to prescribe uh, medicine to help you get better. You go to a professional, a tax attorney or a CPA or a professional advisor to help diagnose a problem and prescribe a solution for you.
Right. It's so true. Now let's get right to it. What are some of the top five things that every business owner should do before December 31st with no excuses?
Well, there are all kinds of things you can do, but what I would say is number one, uh, thanks to the one big beautiful bill, OB3, because it sounds taxy, OB3, uh, bonus depreciation is back. And what that means is if you need an asset for your business, you can deduct it,
Mhm.
100% of it. So if you're a doctor and you need some medical equipment, buying it before the end of the year is critical because you get to deduct it all in 2025. So squeezing those in is really, really helpful. Even if you're a service business, if you need a laptop or computer equipment, buy it if you're going to buy it in January or buy it in December, buy it in December.
Right. That's so true. Now, if someone's behind, where's the fastest leverage? Cash flow, AR, AP, cleanup, payroll, tune-ups, or expensive, categorization. What's really, the most important thing that people need to really focus on?
Boy, you just listed everything under the sun. Um,
I gave you a lot of
so
choices to focus
yeah,
on.
lot of choice. My choice is focusing on cash flow because if you don't have cash, you can't run your business, and
Right.
that's one of the biggest expenses you have, whether you're a big business or a small business, is tax, and that's why I'm focused in that tax area. Um, uh, it is a for an individual, it's 30 at the federal level, 37% of every dollar you make ends up going to the federal government.
Right.
You tack on state, and it's a ginormous sum of money. And if we could solve for that, it puts more money in your pocket. Most people think, well, it's not a discretionary cost. There's nothing I can do. I just have to pay it. And that is
Yeah.
absolutely not true. There are things you can do in terms of timing of deductions, depreciation we just talked about. There are all kinds of things you can squeeze into 2025 and really shelter some of that tax money.
I think you're so right. And I think people don't realize that, and they don't realize how much they actually can save if they do it properly and they plan ahead of time and they don't wait to the very last minute.
Hmm. Yep, 100%.
Now, what are some of the most overlooked deductions or strategies that you see in the fourth quarter that owners leave on the table?
I would say really just timing of expenses, right?
Mhm.
Where you don't really have to do anything differently. Um, accounting for things correctly is critical, but there are some things you can do. You can prepay, for example, rent, utilities, professional fees, insurance, and deduct them. If they're due in January, pay them in December.
Yeah.
It's a quick and easy deduction. It does require a little bit of cash to get that deduction, but if it's money you're going to spend in the next 30 days anyway, why not accelerate a little bit of that uh, of those costs? Um, Other things, if you've got receivables, if you're a doctor or if you're a professional that has uh, bills that people owe you that haven't been paid, recognizing those as uncollectible, because you're not
Yeah.
going to collect them anyway, just marking them as uncollectible and writing them off is a free deduction. It's
Right.
it's cash you're never going to get. Might as well get a deduction for it. Uh,
Exactly.
inventory methods. Here's where you'd want to bring in a professional. Any business that has inventory, there are certain uh, tax requirements if you're of size where you have to move overhead into inventory. There are other things you can do, less well known, where you take costs out of inventory and you move it back to your P&L, meaning you get a deduction for it. So, identifying both of those sides of the coin, I think is really critical, and it requires no action on your part other than hiring somebody who knows what they're doing.
Exactly, exactly. Some people get so stressed, but if you just hire someone that has the ability and has the knowledge behind them,
Yep.
that's all you need is just being able to have the right people behind you that are batting for you. And, those worries are no longer something that you have to really stress over anymore because you have someone that is fighting your battles for you and trying to get the best for you because they're on your side.
Absolutely. Other things, and I mentioned depreciation. I mentioned the one big beautiful bill and the
Yeah.
accelerated depreciation. Um, Many of your listeners probably have rental properties, and if you have, you've heard of something called cost segregation, where you hire an engineering firm and they say, "Well, you didn't pay everything for the house. There's a piece of this that is really should be for the shorter lived assets." And therefore you're depreciating it faster and you get a bigger deduction. You can do that for business buildings as well.
Right.
People that are in the rental field know it all day long. If you're a doctor and you have your own office, you may not realize, but that is an eligible deduction for you as well.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Now, how do you think, what do you think about like entity hygiene at the end of the year, like bookkeeping, accuracy, documentation, and preparing for a clean tax season?
Yeah, not just at the end of the year, as you go through the year, you should
Mhm.
look at your financial statements as a snapshot of where you are and where you're going. And, if it's not usable to you to make business decisions, then something's wrong because you ought to be able to use that periodically in order to make informed business decisions. Now, having said that, the critical piece to doing bookkeeping correctly is something called an account reconciliation. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but essentially all you're doing is you're saying, is the cash that I have on my financial statement, does it tie to my bank statement?
Mhm.
Which sounds like a no-brainer, but you would be surprised at the number of small businesses that are so focused on the P&L, they don't realize that their accounts have never been reconciled.
Yeah.
And doing that periodically through the year is absolutely critical because then when you get to the end of the year, you know exactly where you are. You don't have to wait until March. You know on December 25th how you're going to end the year.
Exactly. And I see that happen all the time with so many businesses. And it's crazy. It's crazy how
Yeah.
they don't see the importance of numbers. Numbers should be something that's taken in consideration all year long, not just before the tax season is over.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you for clarity, what is OBBBA in plain English, and why should owners care right now?
Well, it is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Naming aside, it is the key tax legislation that went through Congress earlier this year.
Hmm.
Uh, Typically, there is one cornerstone piece of legislation for each administration, and this one seems to be that one big beautiful act.
Yeah. Now, what recent or upcoming changes tied to the OBBBA stand to benefit small and mid-sized owners that the most from this for this year?
For this year, the bonus depreciation, which we talked about, is going to be the biggest piece. There are other things that, if you're looking a little bit further down the road, could be of interest. The biggest piece for me, I call it Section 1202 companies, or sometimes they're called qualified small business corporations.
Hmm.
If you're less than a minimum amount of capitalization when you convert from an S corporation to a C corporation,
Right,
so
right.
long as you hold that stock for 5 years, when you sell the business, you can exclude up to $15 million of gain. So,
Yeah.
uh, again, critical to use an advisor to make sure A, you qualify, and B, you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But if you are looking at a sale as an exit,
Hmm.
that can be particularly useful in saving significant amounts of money.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good advice. Now, who typically qualifies or benefits, and who is likely not going to qualify?
For a qualified small business corporation, people that don't qualify are service organizations. So,
Mhm.
sorry, brother lawyers, no. Sister CPAs, no. Engineering firms, no. Consulting, no. You have to do something, right? So
Yeah.
if you're selling something or you're manufacturing something, if you're doing something, those are the types of entities that would qualify.
Right, right. Can you walk us through the mechanics of the timelines required for documentation? And how can an owner and how should they coordinate with their CPA advisor?
So in terms of just documentation for a tax return,
Yes. Hmm.
oh, well, that's relatively straightforward. Uh, in short, save all your receipts, right? Uh, if you've got a CPA that is accumulating receipts, you're probably in the wrong place. It's typically the business is you're going to keep receipts either electronically or God forbid on paper, but receipts are required for all deductible expenses.
Yes.
Typically, those receipts are what are going to drive your accounting anyway. What your CPA is looking for is the bookkeeping behind uh, uh, the numbers, right? The P&L and the balance sheet, and that's
Right.
what's going to drive what ends up on your tax return. As
Hmm.
a Having previously prepared tax returns, there are things that are important and things not so.
Right.
Non-deductible expenses are critical for us. So entertainment, personal use of a car, meals. Those are the types of things that we try and flag.
Hmm.
If you have a Staples bill that's misclassified as a utility, still deductible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, can you share a before or after scenario? Anonymous is fine, of where an owner applied the OBBA related changes and saw a meaningful difference?
And anybody that's acquiring assets is going to see a meaningful difference.
Mhm.
Pre-OBBA, bonus depreciation had dropped to 40%. So post OBBA, now we're at 100%, which it is a large and meaningful difference for sure.
Wow. Now, what are some of the most common misconceptions about the OBBA that you want to clear up right now?
How about you read frequently about the SALT cap,
Hmm.
which is the state and local tax deduction.
Right.
The OBBA raised it from 10,000 to $40,000.
Hmm.
Uh, but the limit is so low that if you're making $500,000, that 40,000 is dropped back down to 10. So for, for most high net worth individuals, the OBBA did absolutely nothing.
Right.
The other piece that is less publicized is the OBBA is going to have a limit on your itemized deductions starting in 2026.
Right.
2025, no impact at all. 2026, what's deductible is going to creep down a little bit. It's
Right.
not material, but it will be noticeable.
Okay. That's really good to know, actually. Now, if we had 30 days to get ready, what's your week by week plan for a business owner?
Oh boy. Um, so, so I mean, understanding your numbers, right? Understanding how you're
Mhm.
going to end the year and what levers you can pull to accelerate some of those deductions. I mean, we talked about prepaid expenses. You can also you can hold off on billing, right? If it looks like you're going to end high and you aren't going to have enough
Right.
deductions to bring it down, um, you know, if you bill once a month, maybe you skip a month if your cash flow permits you to do it. Send the
Right.
bill out a little bit later, that money will be received in 26 and you've shifted income to the next year.
That's a great idea, actually. Now, how do you audit proof decisions like checklists, support documents, naming convention approvals, and so forth?
So anytime you're taking if you're using, so for example, if you came to Neil Jasani,
Hmm.
I always assume all of my clients are going to be audited. So when we
Hmm.
prepare the documentation associated with the tax return, we dot our I's and cross our T's. If we have structured a special transaction to save money,
Yeah.
there will be a memo with the law supporting that transaction so that, in case of auditor, hand them the memo and
Right.
happy reading. They usually that's enough.
Yeah. That's actually a great idea because, that happens to a lot of individuals and to be able to have that, pre-ready for you and you can just predispose it to the other individual, it takes a lot of stress off
Well,
the business.
it really does. And usually I tell my clients, look, we do this so that God forbid you get audited. You sleep at night, I sleep
Yeah,
at night, we're all good.
exactly. Exactly. Now, what are some of the top three pitfalls you see in the fourth quarter? Things that blow up returns or delay things?
Uh, I would say the biggest delay is just not having your numbers ready, right?
Yeah.
That is that's the death knell, right? Or or
Yeah.
not or not knowing where your income is coming from. I mean, that's
Right.
critical as well. You may have a small business, but you have a number of investments. Knowing
Exactly.
which investments are going to generate income or deductions for you is pretty important.
Oh, for
Focusing on the
sure.
business is good, but the noise in the background can also it can help or it can hurt.
Yes. That's very true. That's very true. Now, what should owners ask when they're interviewing an advisor? Like three questions that separate the pros from the pretenders.
I, I would ask for the credentials of the firm. Do you have seasoned tax attorneys? Do you have seasoned CPAs? You know, you're not looking for somebody who's tax preparation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you anybody can put the right number on the right line on the right form and file it in the right place at the right time. But uh, there's a little bit of value there that if your CPA is doing it, that means you're not. But
Right.
that's really it in terms of the value. You're looking for somebody who can effectuate tax planning, who takes the time to understand your business
Yeah.
and the nuances of who you are. So one of the hallmark features of Neil Jasani is when people come to us, they don't have to change their lifestyle to change
Right.
their taxes, right? It should happen in the background that you should be able to do whatever you normally like to do with without changing the way you live. And
Yes.
really that's what we look for in terms of strategizing with our clients. They don't have to change what they do in order to save money.
I think a lot of people get stressed because a lot of people have the myth that they think they do, and
Hmm.
they get all stressed out. And the fact is, just like you said, they don't.
Yep, yep.
Now, for owners that are juggling growth and taxes, how do you prioritize, cash smart moves without choking in future growth?
And well, that's critical. And I remind my clients of this all the time. Minimizing taxes isn't the goal. If you minimize taxes, and it takes money to do so. So, for example, there are various retirement plans. A defined benefit plan allows you to set aside a lot more money than a 401(k), but
Yeah,
you're setting aside the money. That money is actually leaving your pocket. Uh,
right,
One of the benefits is that money only has to leave your pocket before you file the return. It's one of the few things you can do in 2026 and get a
right.
2025 deduction, but it is still money leaving your pocket.
Yeah,
So, uh, I've heard it said you don't let the tail wag the dog. Taxes are important, but running your business is even more important. So, I wouldn't lose sight of business growth and let the growth suffer for paying lower tax.
yeah. This is like a world of information. This is great because you really provided a lot of valuable information that I think a lot of people don't even realize. Now, if we took today's conversation and we had to emphasize on some important factors, what are some of the things that you really think are important that you want to make sure people walk away with after listening to this podcast?
The key thing you should walk away with is you need a competent tax advisor that focuses on more than just a tax return.
Yes,
It doesn't have to be us, but it needs to be somebody who knows what they're doing. Uh,
yes.
that will get you to the right place at the right time. Having somebody that understands and knows the nuances is absolutely critical in order to have your optimal tax liability.
I love that. I love that. Now, can you tell people about all the different types of services that you provide?
Uh, sure. So here at Neil Jasani, if we think about just the tax services, Uh, we do estate planning, income tax planning, and we do tax return preparation. But the estate planning and the income tax planning are really going to drive the needle. We also have a separate wealth management group. We're all under one roof. Um, our clients tend to think of us as like a shared family office, right?
Yeah.
You've got everybody under one roof. You're not paying the lawyers to talk to the CPAs. Uh, they're both sitting together, servicing the same client on the same page. So you don't have people pointing the finger or people going in different directions. We're all rowing in the same direction. And I think
Right.
that's particularly useful.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Now you have, I noticed that you have also consultations that you offer. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure. At our website, Neil Jasani, Neiljesani, at neiljasani.com, we do offer a consultation. So if you type in your information, we'll get you in front of somebody. What they will do is take down your information and, if appropriate, get you to the right type of tax advisor.
I love that. I love that. Now, we've covered a lot of things today, and you really went over a lot of important factors and you provided us with a ton of great information. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to add to the conversation that we may not have touched base on?
Oh my goodness, there are all kinds of things we haven't touched base on. Phew, there are a lot of what we've talked about are what I would call penny and nickel type savings. There are many savings like that. Renting your house, having your business rent your house and take a deduction for it, hiring your children. All of these are pennies and nickels. There are also much, much larger savings strategies that may be appropriate for you. Having the right team behind you in identifying and implementing those strategies is absolutely critical.
I love it. Well, you know what? We're going to have you back on the show so we can go over all those things again because
Oh,
there's
fantastic.
there's a lot to learn. I know that, and there's so many things that people don't even realize. So many things that that are offered to society, but people have no clue that they're even there. And unfortunately, they could save so much money, and they can do so much more. But they don't realize that all these things are being offered to them unless they have somebody like yourself who's a professional and actually guides them in the right direction. So I'm glad that we went over some of the aspects today, and I'm really excited to have you back on the show so we can go more depth in a lot of different areas. And I thank you so much, Rich, for being on the show today. You've been fabulous, and I think it's really important because I think people have to realize the importance of numbers, especially when you run a business and you want to be successful and you want to grow and elevate to the next level. You need to be able to understand that numbers is the foundation of any successful business, and that needs to be emphasized all year long. And this is something that you can't do by yourself because there's too many things a business, a corporation, an entrepreneur has to do. And the less that you can put on your own plate is the better. And you don't want to try to figure out things that you have no clue because it always ends up getting screwed up if you don't have the right
Absolutely.
people looking at it. So I'm really glad that you came on the show. I look forward to having you on again. And once again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you and everything that you put on into this conversation. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Stacy.
You have a great day.
All right, you too.